We had some breaking news last night from Dr. Kiersten Wise, and as I'm talking for a moment, Kiersten, if you would activate your video and your audio, and then go ahead and start sharing your screen, that's fine. But Kiersten had some breaking information about southern rust being found at 2 locations in Kentucky, and we thought it was relevant in the field day setting. It was relevant to have Kiersten come on and talk to you briefly on those topics. So with that, I am going to hand it over to Kiersten, and Kiersten, I'm going to ask you to count to 3 silently before you jump in.
Okay, thanks, Chad. Can everyone see the screen okay? Great. Well, I appreciate the opportunity to get a few minutes on the program today to talk about our latest development in corn disease in Kentucky this year, and that is the confirmation of the disease that you can see on the screen, which is southern rust. This is a disease we're annually concerned about every year in Kentucky, but it is an easy disease to manage, and we're going to talk about where we're finding it and what we can do about it today. And then I'm going to just be on briefly and give you a few places that you can get a little bit more information as you're going through the decision of whether or not we need to be managing southern rust this year. So this is going to be a distribution of where we're seeing southern rust in the United States on our IPM pipe. As you can see, we confirmed southern rust in Caldwell and Davis County yesterday. We do have some other suspect samples that are coming into our plant disease diagnostic lab today from a few other counties in Western Kentucky. So this is going to be a resource that you want to be checking frequently over the next few days to weeks, because as we get more samples in and maybe finding more southern rust, we're going to be turning those counties where we have confirmed positive cases of southern rust red, so that you can do some planning and be scouting in the areas where you're growing corn to see if we need to be managing the disease. I want to briefly note there's been some questions about, is this an earlier find or a later find than normal? This is a right on target find or arrival of southern rust in Kentucky. I always sort of think of Kentucky whenever we are having our corn, soybean, tobacco field day. That's usually the week that we have our first confirmation of southern rust in Kentucky. So mid-July, this is right on track for when we typically see southern rust come into Kentucky. Now, the real question about whether or not it's going to be something that's going to impact corn yields is going to depend on the weather and also corn growth stage of a given field. And this is a table that I pulled out of a Crop Protection Network publication on southern rust. The link to the publication is there. It's an excellent resource that talks about all the information that you need about southern rust, and it's a product of our land-grant universities, so it is research-based information. And this table is going to be really handy because it's telling you whether or not we need to spray a fungicide to control southern rust based on the crop growth stage when southern rust is first detected. And so depending on the year, we may not need to use fungicides to manage southern rust. And in past years, when we get to this time of year, most of our corn might be at milk stage or later, which is sort of that cutoff point for where we would need to spray for southern rust. This year is a little different. There's more corn that sort of falls in that tasseling to milk stage that can benefit from a fungicide application to manage southern rust. And so it's really going to be important to go out, know what crop growth stage your corn is at right now, be scouting, be watching those maps, be talking to county agents to know whether or not it's in your area and whether or not there's a benefit to spraying those fungicides. I want to briefly mention some of the late planted corn that might still be in some of those vegetative stages or late or pre-tassel stages at this point in time. We want to be scouting those fields for disease, but we want to be waiting to spray those fields till we can get as close to tassel as possible. So unless there's southern rust actively in those fields, just because it might be in your area or around your county, be scouting those fields. Try to wait as close to tasseling to spray because you need that fungicide protection in that tasseling growth stage. So this is going to be a resource, go out, scout fields, be monitoring those, and then you can make a decision on whether or not a fungicide application is needed based on that growth stage. I'll mention just very briefly, our product efficacy table is available. This is a resource where we update annually and we rank products in their efficacy for control of corn diseases. So there's going to be a lot of good information in that table on how we rank these products in southern rust efficacy control. There's a product for every price point. So if you're concerned about spraying, maybe you didn't spray this season so far, trying to save on input costs, but you are going to be maybe at risk for southern rust in your corn, there are going to be some different product price points that you can use in corn for southern rust that still have good efficacy against the disease. So that's going to be an excellent resource that I would encourage you to check out. And that's also, all of the county agents have a copy of that. So please talk to them about picking out those products if you think you might need them. We'll also have an article in this week's Kentucky Pest News that summarizes the situation a little bit more completely if you're interested in checking that out, and the link to that is there. And then I'll just mention very briefly, I know there was some confusion yesterday when we were sort of announcing that we had found southern rust. There will be another corn, soybean, tobacco field day, an IPM focused field day, and that'll be on July 28th. And that'll be a great opportunity to get sort of an update on what we're seeing out there with southern rust and what we're going to be finding, and talk a little bit more in depth about this situation. Because really, I think it's really important to remember that it depends on that crop growth stage, but it also is going to depend on the weather. We have hot, humid weather forecasted, which is favorable for southern rust development in these areas where we're getting these pop-ups or these rain events. That is also going to be favorable for disease development. And so really, depending on where you are, those weather conditions and your current crop growth stage, that's going to be what you need, that information that you need to help make the decision on whether or not a fungicide application is needed. If you're concerned that you have southern rust in a field, if you're not sure, send those samples to your county agents. Those county agents can get those samples to our diagnostic labs very quickly. There's usually a very quick turnaround on those samples, and that's the most accurate and fastest way to know if you have southern rust and to help you make the decision on whether a fungicide application is needed. Now, I appreciate letting me have just a few minutes today just to give you a little bit more information about this find. My contact information is up there. I will actually be out in the field. I'm going to be jumping off to go out to the field and do some more scouting and looking for some things. So if you have any questions, I think you can put them in the chat. Colette and Chad can get those to me. We can get those questions answered. But I would also encourage you to talk to your county agents. They have all of this information. They're going to be a really good resource for you to go to, and they'll know the local weather forecasts. They'll know what the crop growth stages are in the area. So they're going to have a very good, information set for you guys if you're looking for local information. That's what I have today, Chad. Thank you.